Welcome back to the center ring at the circus known as Washington, D.C., and I am your ringmaster, Sheepdog Smokey. Honestly, this is one that has kind of been going around the social media circles for a little while. With Justice Ginsburg's health in news more and more and more in the last several months. First of all, I agree with James Woods 100%. I'm not going to get political about it. I honestly hope she spends her last days on this earth comfortable. And I don't care how healthy you are, at 94, working a job like the Supreme Court is not comfortable. But with her health as it is, it's only a matter of time before there is now a third opening on the Supreme Court that President Trump will nominate to fill. Of course, liberals are doing everything they can to stop that, including apparently at this point having someone voting in her stead, supposedly on her direction. But now, of course, liberals' heads explode. Trump reportedly says he will replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with Catholic judge Amy Barrett. One, quit bringing religion into everything. Look at her judicial record. According to Axios, President Trump reportedly is saving conservative Catholic judge Amy Barrett to replace fragile Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she leaves the court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 86 years old and in questionable health. The Hill reported President Trump has reportedly said he is saving Judge Amy Barrett of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, according to Axios. Barrett was a popular choice among conservative activists as a candidate to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy before Trump eventually nominated Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Axios reported that Trump has made clear his desire to replace Ginsburg with Barrett since Kennedy's decision to retire, telling people on separate occasions, "I'm saving her for Ginsburg." The American left is very threatened by devout Catholics like Amy Barrett. According to far-left Yahoo, stringent Catholics like Judge Amy Barrett are cultists. This is the type of anti-Christian filth that is promoted by the liberal media and Democrats today. Then we have from Yahoo News. Skeptics of Judge Amy Barrett's involvement with a group called People of Praise have questioned whether the group has demonstrated cult-like elements. Via Yahoo, who are the People of Praise that Supreme Court contender Amy Coney Barrett belongs to? Many Christians view this time as a bona fide revival, a unique manifestation of God's power, similar to the Great Awakenings of the 18th and 19th centuries. The context, the intensity and earnestness of that time, helps explain some of the more esoteric and sometimes concerning elements of religious practice that have been attributed to the People of Praise. The group's public reticence has contributed to accusations by former members that it attempts to influence the lives of the members in ways that in the past have crossed into control and manipulation. Even in one of the most rigorous critiques of Barrett's group, a 152-page booklet written in 1997 by a former member named Adrian Reimers, there are numerous references to the powerful experience that swept up so many young people of faith during that time. Reimers notes the strong sense of euphoria that permeated the movement not only in South Bend, Indiana, but all across the country. It seemed that the Holy Spirit was carrying us along, that all we had to do was respond to his manifest leadings, Reimers wrote of that time. And Reimers describes charismatic masses, prayer meetings, and large rallies in which participants left an almost tangible sense of communion. Because according to Yahoo, having an almost tangible sense of communion with God is a cultish experience. This, honestly, is just completely unacceptable. Almost as unacceptable. I won't say completely, but almost as unacceptable as when we had people in Congress during confirmation hearings bringing up the person's faith. That one is completely unacceptable because you see the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of the press or of speech, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition for redress of grievances. You notice that first bit, though. Congress is specifically barred by the document they swear to uphold and defend from making a religious litmus test. Yet, they do. And the news follows suit with this. They handpick someone who left this group and wrote about it, and they handpick the bits and pieces they read from what they wrote, and they twist them into messages that this is a dangerous person. And then they use that to whip the nation into a frenzy, demanding that this person all but be consigned to solitary confinement in Guantanamo Bay. This has to stop. I want very little information about a prospective Supreme Court justice. That information is where did they go to law school and what was their record there. Since leaving that law school, what was their record as an attorney? And then what was their record in the court? I want to see how they argued cases. Where did they argue for just ignoring the law? Or did they argue for obeying the law? Did they rule it when sitting in the courts? Did they rule correctly or incorrectly according to the law? That's what I want to know about a prospective justice. That way, I'm able to tell how they will most likely rule in the future. The left is very frightened by this because, of course, if you have someone who will respect the law, you can't demand that the meaning of arms means only musket, while the meaning of speech means any form of speech I want, which changes on a daily basis. And of course, I can change my gender from second to second, and you're the evil bigot who has to go to jail for not reading my mind. It amazes me the mental gymnastics possible by liberals. To them, the founders are so ignorant they had no idea that technology with regards to firearms would ever, in any way, advance beyond the black powder muskets they were holding 240-odd years ago. But of course, they were the most brilliant men on the planet who, of course, knew social media would come. And of course, when they wrote the First Amendment, they actually meant that any speech I don't like, I get to censor. Did you catch that mental triple sow cow with a dismount onto the ice in perfect sync with whatever music they want to play? The founders are both ignorant and brilliant at the same time, based on the interpretation the liberal wants to use. And now, apparently, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof means that Congress is supposed to disqualify Amy Coney Barrett because she happens to be a Catholic. But when someone who I don't even know if they're a citizen manages to steal a Minnesota election, the House is required to change their rules to respect her religion. Those two scenarios are quite literally the definition of respecting an establishment of religion and prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Pardon me. The left is just terrified that their work for the past 8 years, the 8 years prior to President Trump's inauguration, to remake the courts into their liberal sounding area that can nullify and negate any law they hate and create any law they want from full cloth without bothering to go to Congress, is going to be undone. We've already seen that they're not completely correct because, of course, we've seen instances where Trump nominees who are confirmed don't vote the way everyone thinks they will. I may disagree, but when I read the reason why, I see how they applied the law. I may disagree with how they did it, but I'm not the one on the bench. But Amy Coney Barrett terrifies them because it will move from a 5-4 split to a 6-3. This is why we have idiots on the left who are saying we need to just scrap the Supreme Court, go to a 15-judge panel with the GOP nominating 5, the DNC nominating 5, and those 10 people filling the other 5 seats on their own. No, we don't. Because there's a simple reason the Supreme Court is what it is, and that is Article 3 of the United States Constitution. I do hate allergy season. But the Constitution quite literally lays out the makeup of the court. It requires an amendment to the Constitution to change that court. You're not going to get 2/3 of Congress. You're not going to get 34 states to vote yes on an amendment that will destroy the judicial branch. If by some wizardry you do, you'll never get 38 states to ratify it. It's just not going to happen. The same with the Electoral College, although I believe that we need to be taking states like New Mexico and I believe Connecticut, although it may have been another, who are passing laws saying their electoral votes will go to the national popular winner, and we need to walk into their state house and state senate with their governor, smack every one of them on the back of the head, and say, no, you can't just negate the Constitution. You just can't. Just like we need to tell these idiots who are trying to apply a religious litmus test to Amy Coney Barrett that no, you can't do that because you are not allowed to restrict the free exercise thereof. But I've talked long enough on this. Keep the comments classy, keep them civil. We do not learn from argument, we learn from debate. Also, make sure to like and subscribe so you stay up to date with the content. Ring the notification bell. As I've said before, I have a few rabbit holes I'm researching. I may or may not be going down them. And you'll want to make sure you keep up to date with what's happening then. So you'll want to be subscribed. Until next time, have a wonderful day.